Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do exciting things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer, apparently. And I'm joined this week by, as I always am, by my two buddies who bring MMA punditry up to new heights. Introducing to you first, from New York, repping New York, Marc Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
Yes, sir. Had to bust out the Giants hat for the first time in a while. Can't miss an opportunity when we actually win a football game to wear the hat, so we may not win many more, so we're going to have to wear it right now.
And introducing from Florida, the Sunshine State, he is the Nicaraguan Nightmare, Omar Artola. What's up, buddy?
What is going on, boys? We have another week of MMA. What madness was that this past weekend? We just need to get right into it because Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. We'll get to it. Even more exciting news. I'm growing a beard, which is going well. It pales in comparison to you two guys. And exactly. In fact, I'm going to spoil this already. It's going probably tomorrow. I can't take it. I
thought we were going to be
Looks good, though, right? Looks good.
I can't do it, man. It's too itchy. I hate it.
Yeah, the itchy part is crazy.
You're like almost through it with that length.
You think so?
It's the worst.
If you went another week, you'd be through it.
I think my wife would hate it. Okay. We got through it. Guys, this week we have a lot to get to because we are going to talk about UFC 279 and all of the craziness that was this whirlwind of a pay-per-view this past weekend. So we're going to start, as we always do, with our first segment on the marquee. Probably won't take many guesses to find out who's on the marquee this week. We're going to talk about all of the big fights from this past weekend's card. We're going to throw a bunch of the fights from the pay-per-view into our lightning round. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in Marc's very own rankings system. Then we're going to hop over to the Omar side of the tracks and find out what's new in the world of MMA outside of the cage with our segment Inside the MMA Sphere. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's UFC Fight Night. Very exciting main event. Sandhagen versus Yadong. Amazing bantamweight showdown. Very consequential fight at 135 pounds. Also in the middleweight division in the co-main event of this weekend's Fight Night, Chidi and Njokuani taking on Gregory Rodrigues. Oh boy, that one is probably not going to go to the scorecards. And a few other very exciting bouts this coming weekend at UFC Fight Night. Sandhagen versus Yadong. And then we're going to end with a little bit of trivia, as we usually do. All right, before we get into any fight talk, gentlemen, let us first address our listeners and viewers. If you are watching this on YouTube right now, thank you so much. Nothing would mean more to us than if you subscribed and hit that bell icon so that you never miss any of our content on YouTube. If you want audio only, hey, we got you there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, join the conversation on social media. You can find us on all the social channels at @andnew_MMA show in all the places. Okay, let's get into it.
And quick shout-out to our bunch of commenters that we've had lately. I love the comments. If you're watching this, leave some more. Love seeing the comments. Love getting to talk to you guys. Appreciate the new subs. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Hey, if you like any of our takes, let us know in the comments. If you disagree with any of our takes, let us know in the comments. Or if you have your own take, let's hear it. All right, this week, the name on the marquee has got to be Nathan Diaz, who this past weekend, on Saturday, September 10th, at UFC 279 at the T-Mobile Arena in Paris, Nevada, he defeated Tony Ferguson by submission via guillotine choke at 2 minutes, 52 seconds of round number 4. What's so funny?
Paris, Nevada? What'd you have?
That's what it says on Wikipedia. It's in Las Vegas, goddammit. It's true, you're right. I said that, I was like, oh, shit. All right, the official time was 2:52 of round number 4. Mark, let me throw it over to you first. Man, Where do you begin with this bout, with this whole event? But let's try to zoom in and talk about the main event between Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson. What was your takeaways?
Yeah, we already gave kind of our live reaction to all the nonsense and the shuffling and all that when we did the last-minute preview for the 3 reshuffled fights on Saturday. So if you want our take there, feel free to pop over to that video. But in terms of this fight, I mean, this thing was awesome. We all came into this past weekend thinking we were going to see Nate Diaz get sacrificed in front of the world and destroyed on his way out the door. And instead, he gets a showcase across from a fellow legend in Tony Ferguson. We get more Nate Diaz antics to remember, like his mid-round break when, for a second, like we weren't sure if he was quitting or like what the hell was happening. His beautiful, perfect technique sidekick at the horn when he's just leaning on the cage and then throws the sidekick to nobody when the horn sounds. It was incredible. And we get a vintage Nate Diaz performance where his boxing just started to overwhelm his opponent. And then to top it all off, we get the absolutely vintage Nate Diaz finish with the flex and all at 2:09 of the 4th round of all times. I know the official time was 2:08, but fuck that and fuck that timekeeper. The screenshots tell me it was 2:09. Have some awareness, bro, and just fucking tell him it was 2:09. I don't need to hear 2:08. But, yeah, the whole thing was awesome. It's exactly what I hoped it could be for Nate, and frankly, what it told us is that Nate still has game, which I've always said. He is not easy to fight, no matter how old he's getting here. He's not easy, and I think it also told us that Tony may not have game left. I think that's easily the worst we've seen Tony look in this whole run. He was in there with killers previously, so it was a little hard to evaluate some of them. He was battling. He had his moments, like against Chandler. He had that first round, but on this night, he was in there with an older Nate Diaz, who's a bit slower these days, as much as I still love him. And Tony looked ungodly slow. I mean, everything he did looked sloppy and slow. And I know that a lot of that is probably because he's so unorthodox. And when you're unorthodox and fast, you look really cool. And when you're unorthodox and you lose a step, you start to look really sloppy. So I'm sure that plays into it, but I just didn't think he looked good here. And it's hard to fight Nate. Like I always say this, unless you're a wrestler, it is no easy task to fight Nate Diaz because your strikes are not going to deter him. He's going to keep coming at you. He's going to find his timing on his combos. Before you know it, you're catching 1-2s in your face, and you're like, hold on a second, what's happening here? Like, it's a difficult fight, and that's exactly what happened here. Tony he kind of stuck to the same plan throughout. It wasn't working. He couldn't throw Nate off, especially as we got past the earlier rounds. And then he gets desperate, and he shoots, and that's the end of that. And credit to Nate. He snatched that choke up so beautifully. Tony actually got his head out right away. Like, his head was high. And Nate went up and readjusted it in 1 second and locked that thing in tight. So it was awesome. It was a great finish for Nate. Leaves you probably thinking we're done seeing any big moments from Tony Ferguson at this point. Obviously, he wants to continue, as he said. He said we're back, whatever the fuck that means. I'm not sure how he defines being back. But the ending for Nate was awesome. I even loved the post-fight interview in that he kind of went out on good terms with the UFC. And I actually have a suspicion that we will see Nate Diaz in the UFC again down the road at some point.
Omar, let's bring you into the fold here. What was your reaction to the main event, to the event as a whole, and to Nate walking away with this W, this sort of a vintage Nate Diaz performance, as Mark alluded to?
Yeah, so I may be in the minority. I had fun watching the fight. It was fun to watch, but like I wasn't impressed with either guy. Like they both didn't look particularly great. We gave, so many people gave Rockhold shit for being tired not a month ago, and Nate Diaz did the same thing like 4 times, and we're like praising him for it and calling him a gangster for it.
I didn't think he was tired. I thought his legs were fucked up.
He did it throughout the whole fight. I mean, whatever he did it for, it's like all antics and stuff. And for me, there wasn't enough going on. They got to the point at some point where they didn't come forward all the time, where they sort of try to lollygag their way, where the referees on a regular basis don't have to goad the fighters to start fighting again. that generally seems to now only happen in Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz fights. And they didn't look great. They both looked slow. You're absolutely right. Tony Ferguson looked, to be fair, he looked awful, bro. He looked really bad. He looked so bad, in fact, that Nate Diaz walked out of there fucking immaculate. Immaculate. There wasn't a scratch on him.
Other than his leg, which is probably pretty bruised up, pretty fucked up.
I could breathe on Nate Diaz's eye and that shit'll split open. Ferguson was in there.
Bleed. I really can't.
Ferguson was in there for how many rounds and did nothing to Nate Diaz's face? I think that's absolutely madness. I would have never, in a million years, I thought that would have been the easiest prop bet of all things, is Nate Diaz walking out of there with a cut. And you would have lost all of your money. Every bit of it. It was a weird fight, to be really honest, because all the things we thought could potentially happen in Tony's favor never even tried to occur. Nate Diaz did what Nate Diaz does, but only, frankly, because he was allowed to do it. When guys can overpower Nate Diaz, when guys are better technically than Nate Diaz, when guys can wrestle, like Mark said, his game just isn't allowed. And Tony Ferguson made it really easy for Nate Diaz to just do his thing. But they both look tired. They both look like they were just older at this point.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for years that Nate Diaz just doesn't seem motivated to really fight the way he used to. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it is. He's just older now at this point. But whatever the case is, they just didn't look great. I am super fucking glad that wasn't Chimaev. There's a part of me that's like, that whole rolling nonsense that he did with Kevin Holland, and we'll get to that, but that whole ground sequence, maybe that would have went different if it was Nate Diaz, for sure. But overall, the overpowering aspect of Chimaev, I think, is terrifying against somebody who's never really seemed quote unquote strong in Nate Diaz, right? Volume, cardio, that kind of machine, but never like somebody to overpower somebody. And Chimaev,
it would have been the mismatch of the century.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been good.
Probably wouldn't have been great.
It wouldn't have been good. Wouldn't have been good. Yeah, I mean, I was proved wrong. I think I said last week that we were not going to see Nate Diaz pulling those antics because Tony Ferguson does not present that level of danger that Leon Edwards presents as a striker. But he did it because, honestly, his leg was getting chewed up. And all of a sudden we see him walking away, acting like at one moment I really thought he was literally quitting.
It looked like it in that second because he shook his head no when the ref was
and we
telling
shook
him
his head. He was like that. I thought he was waving it off. I thought he was like, "That's it,
dude.
fuck this, I'm done."
Hard. Can you imagine if that's how Nate's UFC career ended? Him walking away and quitting,
just quitting in a fight.
Stopped. I was like, no.
And even if thinking back to somebody like Kutelaba, like, what if the ref was like, "Okay, that's it."
Dude, I thought that too. I thought the same shit. I was like, my God, I can't believe he just shook his head like that because that ref easily could have been confused.
In a moment, the ref could have been like, okay, fine. Like the moment a fighter says like no mas, like that could be it.
It's a great point.
So, but hey, was it Goddard? I think it was Goddard.
I think it was Goddard. No,
it was Goddard, right? I think it was
Goddard.
It was
Goddard. Goddard bit his tongue for like that one moment, and maybe, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe Nate was fucking quitting in that moment, but because Goddard wasn't stepping in, Nate was like, "All right, fuck it. I guess I'll throw a punch again, and we'll keep going."
He jumped right back at Tony after that little bullshit. I think he just wanted a break for his leg. He wanted to walk it off, and that's exactly what he got to do. Tony let him fucking walk it off.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought Tony looked okay in moments. Like he was obviously his leg kicks were pretty effective. I thought if he threw a few more, he could have won the fight because I mean Nate's leg was getting bad.
The leg kicks were great.
Tony's leg.
Why the fuck Tony's corner was telling him to take Nate down? I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah.
And telling him Tony was doing so many spinning attacks and showing his back, and they're like yelling at him not to turn his back, and all of a sudden they're like, take him down, and we're all like, why? You didn't watch the McGregor fight? You didn't see what happened? It's the same shit.
Tony turned his back about 20 times. It was weird.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I gotta say, we got happy Tony Ferguson for the first time that I could remember. Like the whole week, he wasn't like intense, and even going into the fight, even like in the octagon, he was like happy. He wanted to like shake Nate's hand. I wanted to see a little bit more of like the zombie Tony.
Yeah,
but hey,
I mean, at least in the cage.
Some of these guys, who are winners for a long time, right? There's so much pressure on them to keep being that guy. And part of that is what makes them so intense during their runs. And then when they start to lose, that pressure is gone. And they don't have to be that guy anymore. And it's almost like they don't feel the weight. So they appear more lighthearted. And I feel like that's kind of what Tony's deal is right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. That probably is right.
Tony's also gone through a bunch of changes in the last few years, and nothing's really seemed to have been consistent since the Gaethje fight, right? Like, he trains with Eddie Bravo, but Eddie Bravo's not his corner anymore. Eddie Bravo felt super responsible to some extent about what happened in that fight and how he cornered him, and he should never have been there and all this other stuff. And so now he's, Tony's been jumping from team to team. At one point, he didn't have a team. He wasn't sparring. He wasn't, training with a camp. He was kind of, kicking his fucking metal in his backyard or whatever the hell Tony does in his backyard. And it just seemed like there was a lot of inconsistencies after that Gaethje fight. And it seemed to be a real detriment. It's like the decline, the rate of decline since that Gaethje fight, from that Gaethje fight on, has been astronomical. Like, I can't think off the top of my head anybody
concerning looking one.
Yeah, for sure. And at that point, to be fair, we didn't know if that was, has Tony lost it or was Gaethje just that fucking good? And it's not to take anything away from Gaethje, but it very well may have been the beginning of the end of Tony Ferguson before we realized it.
Yeah, it was very hard to tell because what was it? It was literally Gaethje, then Dariush, then Oliveira, then Chandler. Was that the order? But either way, it's like 4 killers. And then he gives you that hope against Chandler in round 1. And this is the first time. And again, I'm not even in agreement with you that I thought Nate looked that bad. I thought Nate looked like Nate. Like, Nate fought the way Nate fights. He kind of chills. He lets the fight happen. He lets you get tired of punching him because he knows he's not going anywhere. He starts to get his timing down. Like, he kind of fights that way. Like, it's not like he goes for it out of the gate necessarily. He's in your face, but he's in your face to kind of just get his reads and pitter-patter you and that kind of thing. So I didn't think he looked bad. I thought he looked exactly like – so when I picked Nate to win last week, obviously I in the end I was like, I think it's more likely he gets cut. But I said if he doesn't get cut, he wins. That's pretty much how I envisioned it happening. Not with the tap, with it going all the way to the cards.
Sure.
But I thought it would look kind of like how that looked. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
But so again, not that it was because Tony lost to Nate. I just thought he looked way, way worse, regardless of opponent. Like his movements, his reactions, everything. I thought looked like they fell off a cliff in this fight.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where these two guys are going to go from here. We know that Nate Diaz, his UFC contract is over. Mark, where do you think Nate goes from here? You think he boxes? Do you think he joins another MMA organization?
He certainly sounds like he's planning to box. He was saying how he's going to go take over another sport, so on and so on. My guess is he is really hoping that Jake Paul beats Anderson Silva, because if he does, I think we absolutely get Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. If Jake Paul does not beat Anderson Silva, and I don't think he will, I hope he won't, then I have no fucking idea. I really don't know what Nate's backup plan would be if there's no Jake Paul fight. I'm interested. I'll watch whatever this man is about to do, but I don't even have a theory of what else it would be besides Jake Paul.
Omar, what do you think is next for Nate Diaz?
Since we're in the middle of the conversation, I will
Don't say bare knuckle. Don't do it. I know you're a bare knuckle guy. Don't say bare knuckle.
He can't fight bare knuckle. He'd lose every fight in a minute. One knuckle to the head. He'd be dripping.
I will share a little of the sphere, and we'll break a little early here. The president of BKFC wants him.
Of course he does.
Dude, they're all going to. I'm sure Coker's going to try. I'm sure PFL's going to try. It's Nate fucking Diaz.
Who do you think they want? Who do you think BKFC wants him for, though? What is the purpose? The immediate purpose.
Mike Perry?
Mike fucking Perry.
Oh,
Tell me, and your reaction, Mark, right there, before I even said any of that was, I'm interested, I'll see whatever he does, is exactly why BKFC will take whatever it is the UFC just paid him. UFC just paid him $1 million for that pay-per-view, probably plus pay-per-view points, I would imagine, at this point. He's probably one of the rare exceptions of non-champion pay-per-view point owners. So I would imagine the BKFC is ready to drop a huge fucking dime for people who don't watch BKFC but will watch Nate Diaz.
That's me.
And that's a great fight.
Nothing Nate Diaz could do in combat that I wouldn't watch. Nothing.
He's also doing his new real fight promotion.
Right.
Which is his new I think it's boxing. I don't think it's MMA. I think
I read that it's all three. I read that it's MMA, boxing, and Muay Thai.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shit. Dope. Okay.
But I personally don't think his career ends without the Conor trilogy being completed. I really don't. I think.
Here's a question. Do you think the Conor trilogy happens in the UFC or outside of the UFC?
100%
in the UFC.
You think so?
Another organization.
100%.
I think. What if it was like a boxing fight, a boxing match between the two?
I guess that's possible.
What if it was bare knuckle?
I don't. Oh, God, no. Nate can't. How would Nate fight bare knuckle? Do they not stop fights for cuts in bare knuckle?
Hold up.
He can never do it.
If you told me Conor and Nate Diaz were about to bare knuckle fight, like if it was fucking kickboxer or something, hell yes. Sign me up for that travesty right there. That is amazing. That's a once in a lifetime experience. I will take that.
I think Conor's power might be even more problematic in bare knuckle.
Yeah.
He'd probably break his hand twice as quick, though.
Well, that's valid.
Okay, let's shift gears here. Let's talk about Tony Ferguson for a second. We're all unanimous here thinking that Tony, he has looked better. We think his best days are definitely behind him, as much as we love him. Omar, what do you think? You think he stays at 170? You think he should go back down to 155? What do you think?
Man, I'm kind of good on Tony Ferguson at this point, to be honest.
You think you'd like to see him step away?
And I've said this every time we've had to talk about this man for the last 2 years, whatever. It's the performances that have me concerned because he looks terrible. He looks really bad, and he's taken arguably more damage in the last 2 years than he has in his entire career put together. And it doesn't bode well. It doesn't look like it's getting any better. It doesn't look like he's improving or figuring out the thing. It looks like it's getting worse, in fact. And I don't have any interest in watching Tony Ferguson get beat continuously like that. There's a meme out there where you've got the Ninja Turtles surrounding a fucked up Splinter on the ground. And it's like all of us from like 2010 watching Tony Ferguson now having lost like 4 or 5 in a row. And it's super sad. And I don't want it. I can't contribute to it anymore. So I don't want it.
Mark?
I don't see any scenario where the UFC cuts Tony Ferguson. I don't know how many fights are left on his contract. I'm sure if it was over or if there was only one left, we would have heard about it by now. So I'm assuming there's at least 2. I'm sure we could find that. I should have looked that up. But I think he'll fight again. He doesn't seem like he has any intention of walking away. Whatever weight class he's at, whether it's lightweight or welterweight, if it's me, he's fighting a fellow veteran and someone who is not near the rankings. So I'll give you a name for each. If it's welterweight, I'd put him in there with someone like a Tim Means. If it's lightweight, I'd throw him in there with like a Jim Miller. People along those lines are where I want to see him. And if he lost to a Jim Miller or a Tim Means, as talented as they are, these guys are not on the level where Tony Ferguson was a few years ago. If he lost to one of those guys, the conversation changes even more.
Yeah, that fight scares the shit out of me, to be honest. The Tim Means fight for him, I don't know. It just thinking about it now and the way that he's been fighting, I think he gets absolutely worked, and I hate that fight right now. Like, I want to throw him a softball. I'm at a point right now where I want this to become a wiffle ball game, and like I want to give him somebody like Alex Morono, who I know is not going to beat the ever living shit out of him.
The trick is Tony has to say yes. Like, you can't be like, Tony, here's this debuting fighter we're going to put you with so you win. He's going to be like, absolutely not.
Right.
But Alex Morono could say yes to. I don't think Morono is. You think Morono is much easier than Tim Means? I don't think that's terribly dissimilar.
I just don't want to go in there against somebody.
Easier. He's not as violent, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Like
okay.
Tim Means will fuck this man up.
Well, but Morono and Means, I think Mark picked two guys who don't have, put your lights out power.
I disagree.
Other guys do.
Tim Means will elbow your fucking face off.
Tim Means is more of an accumulative KO artist, though, than a one-shot KO artist.
And right now, I 100% believe that Tim Means will volume the shit out of Tony Ferguson. This is exactly my point. I don't like
to put him against like a wrestler. I feel like you still have to put him in a fight where he can be entertaining. Like, I don't want to say like give him. I don't know. I'm trying to fucking look through this list.
Like a guy who's up and coming, like an Ian Gary at 170.
God,
like Ian Gary's nowhere near the top 15 yet, right?
That would be.
Bro, he's nowhere near the top 25 right now.
No, he's nowhere near it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But Ian Gary's a young guy who has a lot of pop, man. I think he would probably light Ferguson up at this point.
Dude, you know what would actually be a cool fight too? Tony and Gunnar.
Oh yeah, sure. Let Tony just get out grappled for once, and not his head knocked off.
Yeah, and I'd rather not see Tony get worked by an up-and-comer because, like, how does that help anybody at this point? It just that would just be even sadder
Tony
to watch.
versus Ian Gary doesn't feel right to me.
Okay.
I don't know.
In the interest of time, let's move on, gentlemen. Anything else you want to say about Nate Diaz, Tony Ferguson, the whole shit show that was the main event? It wasn't a shit show. It was a fun fight. I enjoyed it. Okay, in the co-main event of UFC 279 at a catch weight of 180 pounds, Khamzat Chimaev defeated Kevin Holland by submission via Darce choke, the official time coming at 2 minutes and 13 seconds of the very first round. And what is probably cannot be argued the most dominant performance on the entire card. Omar, let me start with you. What were your impressions and your reactions to Chimaev pretty much dominating a very talented welterweight/middleweight in Kevin Holland?
So I have a hot take. While I was impressed by Chimaev's ability to do that to Kevin Holland, I am not impressed if that's his game plan with every fight going forward. Because as soon as he runs into somebody who cannot... Because here's the thing, right? Like, it's easy to say, yeah, go 100% on a guy right from the jump, but there's a reason why people don't do that on a regular basis. And at some point, Kevin Holland is probably the guy to do it against. Maybe that was a choice on his part because Kevin Holland's not the best defensive grappler, right, that there is, at least when it comes to takedowns specifically themselves. I did think that he had more opportunities when it came to, finding a submission in an opportunistic moment in situations like that. But Chimaev did the right thing and was basically behind his back the entire time that those exchanges were going on and was able to kind of be completely dominant and overwhelming. But against people at the top, especially at 170, like, do you think he's going to do that to Usman or Colby? Like, as much as I don't like Colby, I don't think Colby's going to get fucking ragdoll like that, like, by any stretch of the imagination. And so as soon as you have Chimaev blowing gas 100% for 2.5 minutes of the first round, I would imagine he has good cardio, but, like, he's a human being still. And at some point, he's going to hit a wall, and he's not going to have that same explosiveness, whereas the guy he's fighting might have preserved himself a little bit better. And as far as impressive performances go, yes, this was an impressive performance. I just think people are sucking the D a little too hard and not thinking about the overall aspect of exactly what that performance might tell us about how he's going to perform in the near future. Because, again, 170 at the top is filled with really good wrestlers, and they are a problem. And you've got guys like Usman, you've got guys like Colby, you've got guys like Leon Edwards, who, if you want to sleep on him because of his last performance, you can. But Leon Edwards is very good with his wrestling as well. They just...
Halal.
I just have questions.
Brady.
I have questions. Yeah.
A lot of wrestlers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already fought one of them. He already fought Gilbert Burns. So he kind of ran that experiment once.
Gilbert Burns is not a wrestler, though.
Yeah.
He's a
I wouldn't
grappler.
call Gilbert Burns a wrestler.
But he's not a wrestler. But Gilbert Burns is the guy who likes to be on the bottom because he thinks he's going to submit you. There's a different mentality when you're a wrestler because your whole life you're taught your shoulders better not hit the fucking mat, let alone you be on the bottom. So it's a whole different thing. Jiu-jitsu is like, yeah, brother, come in my leg. I call you, I get you. It's not the shit that's not what they're doing in wrestling. Thank you.
I love that you begin your just generic Brazilian jiu-jitsu master impression with just like, hey, bro, you come to my leg. That was it. He said, hey. Okay.
You can blame
Mark,
every Brazilian
bring you in
jiu-jitsu
here.
guy I've ever seen.
The show just got shut down.
Mark, speak.
I did think this was a specific to Kevin Holland choice. I think, first of all, I think it's possible that he knew he wasn't feeling his best after the weight cut drama. And that combined with the fact that he thought he could ragdoll Kevin Holland, he was just like, fuck it. I'm going to just go out and jump on this guy right out of the gate. So who knows, but I do think that was a choice that he made. Unfortunately, we got robbed a bit here because this thing was over before we knew it. There was a lot of intriguing angles to this fight, like we discussed on Saturday. And, we didn't even get to see it. We wanted to see the striking play out because of Kevin Holland's length. We didn't get to see a single ounce of that. And we didn't even really get to see, like, a true grappling exchange that Holland was prepared for. I'm not sure how exactly I want to word this, but, like, the fact that Kevin Holland was going for a glove touch sucked. That night, I was furious because, to me, I thought that Khamzat looked like he faked the glove touch and shot a takedown. Since then, I've watched replays from other angles. I saw him get interviewed. He seemed very sincere about the fact that he didn't even see it. Like, he was very much like, what glove touch? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt. I hope that he didn't fake a glove touch. If he did, that fucking sucks, and fuck that guy. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't. Personally, I wish they would just say no more glove touches to start a fight. Like, as soon as the bell rings, you're fighting. Because there's too many. It happens more often on the regional scene than in the UFC because obviously the spotlight's on you. People don't want to do dumb shit. But you see it way too often on the regional scene where a guy goes for a glove touch and gets fucking knocked out because the other idiot is not glove touching and just punches him in the face. So I wish we would just get rid of glove touches altogether. But back to the fight. So it just all happened so fast that we kind of got robbed because, like, as much as Holland did well on the ground, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu after all, he was just in such a compromised position. Like, Chimaev was in so close right away from when Holland went for this glove touch that Holland could never even, like, get free. He could never even reset. And it was just, Chimaev was in so tight, even through all the scrambles and everything. Like, Holland never got to take that breath and let us actually see how it would have started without Holland getting caught off guard like that. So that kind of sucked. But either way, Chimaev's an animal. Who knows? Maybe the outcome's exactly the same. That whole choke sequence was incredible. It started at 3:54 of that round and did not end until 2:47. It was 1 minute and 7 seconds of Holland fighting that choke as much as he possibly could, scrambling, turning to his back, turning to his stomach, rolling out, changing positions, and Chimaev just floating, keeping the arms interlocked, tightening when he had to, loosening when he had to keep Holland in his control. It was a hell of a job from both guys. Holland to fight it and try to escape, and he almost got out, and Chimaev just to keep rolling with that thing and not lose it and eventually tighten it up and hook Holland's leg and be able to roll to the top the way that he did. So it was impressive as hell. You know, what can you say? Obviously, we know Chimaev is unbelievable. It's another performance where he doesn't get touched, 0 strikes. I think that's fucking 4 times now or something. It's insanity. We don't know if the guy is a welterweight or middleweight going forward. Obviously, this was not a great look. I've heard his coach already talking about how he thinks the next fight is going to be at middleweight. So it's a little weird, Chimaev, the way he's kind of doing this, in that he got this high at welterweight and now they're talking about middleweight again. So it's kind of a unique road that he's taking, but wherever he goes, the guy is a friggin' monster. So can't take anything away from the performance.
Yeah, I have had the same reaction as you, of thinking that it really tarnishes the entire win, the fact that Holland was going for a touch glove while Chimaev shot. But honestly, just playing devil's advocate with myself, would it have made a difference? Probably not. We're probably talking mere seconds until, Chimaev shoots and just wraps up Holland's legs eventually and just goes to work.
My thing with it though is it's equivalent though in my belief it's equivalent to like a sucker punch, like
sure. Oh yeah, I hate it.
So you think he did fake it?
I don't know if he faked it or not, but Kevin Holland was definitely going for a glove touch, and Chimaev
but I'm saying his point is that he's saying he didn't even see it.
How do you not see?
That's my point, right? He's like, I think he saw it. I just don't think he gave a shit.
He said, I'm not looking at his hands. I'm looking at his face and shooting for my takedown. That's what he said.
Yeah, I just don't think he gave a shit. Whether he saw it or not, I don't think he was going to take the time to be like, no glove touch. I think he was just going to do what he was going to do. At the same point, like, why the fuck are you going for a glove touch, Kevin Holland? You were about to cut this man like 24 hours ago, and now you want to give him a fucking high five before you go to war? Get to work, son. High five him after. Khamzat was ready to make out with him after the fight was done. It was all good and go. Like, to be like, I'm as equally annoyed as I am with Khamzat. I'm probably more annoyed with Kevin Holland because that was a choice, and Kevin Holland seems to be equally annoyed with himself post fight. I don't know if he did damage to Kevin Holland's shoulder, but Kevin Holland looked like his shoulder was fucked up by the end of that fight. So
a lot.
I wonder if we might not see Kevin Holland for a minute.
I think the lesson here for all fighters is that unless you discuss the glove touch with your opponent, don't fucking go for a glove touch. Because the other guy doesn't know that's what you're doing. And it's a fight.
Definitely do it right at the beginning of the round, right? Like we see people all the time, like, point to the other guy across the cage, like, touch gloves, cool. And some people say no, and we move on.
Right, exactly.
Or just like try to get that communication out there way beforehand. Be like, yo, we're not touching gloves. Okay, cool. Or like have my coach tell your team.
Right.
Like my guy, hey, our guy doesn't want to touch gloves. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes people feel it in the moment though. Like it's part of that process, I think, right? Like being in the cage and being across from somebody. Like that part I get. But I think Mark's right though. Like there has to like you don't assume that this guy's going to be cool with it because you're probably going to get punched in the face.
If you didn't have time to ask him, then fucking don't do it.
Yeah. Short of some guy like walking up to the center of the cage calmly with his hand stretched out, don't do it. Don't do it.
I mean, I'd have to rewatch it to see if Chimaev was he faked his own glove touch and then ducked under, but I think at the very least that he just clearly ignored Holland's glove touch and
he raises his left hand. And I thought it was a fake glove touch. But the more I watch it, and after hearing his description, I'm like, fuck, maybe it's not. And I don't want to bash a guy for such a dirty move if he didn't actually do it. So I'm trying to not assume.
There is a lot of gray area based on what this is. Yeah.
I did forget to say, how about post-fight interview? And I feel like 80% of the MMA world, 95%, has not realized that this occurred. In the post-fight interview, Chimaev says, the doctor stopped me. I was lower than 179. The doctor stopped me. And I knew that night I was going to fight this guy. So I made my weight come up to his weight, in reference to Kevin Holland. So he tells the world that he knew on Thursday night that he was fighting Kevin Holland.
What's the news here? I don't understand. What's the big deal?
Because they made it sound like when it was happening that it didn't happen until that morning. That all of this was a surprise that morning. and that they were all trying to scramble that morning to figure everything out. But that wasn't the case because they knew the night before.
Which is what I said on our Saturday show, that the weight of 179 was so suspicious to me, and it made me feel like he didn't actually try to cut weight and that he knew all along he was fighting Kevin Holland. And fucking most people I said that to were like, no way, no way. And he literally said that in the cage.
The other thing, too, is they kept talking about how it was the physician that made them stop the weight cut. And it was funny because a lot of the fighters are like, are y'all people fucking stupid? Like, you saw Aspen Ladd almost die like a couple months ago, and they were fine with letting her fight. Like, the doctors don't give a shit. If they're ready to fight, they'll fight. And it was the coach, supposedly, according to Brett Okamoto, that was saying that the coach was the one who stopped Chimaev from cutting more weight and forced him to drink water to gain weight or to, put the pounds back on or whatever the hell. So it was a lot of bamboozly shit going on for this event,
I'm telling you, they called Dana that night. They were like, our weight cut's fucked up. Dana knew Nate wouldn't fight him. And Dana was like, what are you at? Who knows what he was at? Maybe he's at 174, 5. Who knows what the fuck he's at? And Dana was like, all right, we got Kevin Holland on this card. They already got beef. We're going to figure this out. And called Kevin Holland, and Chimaev was like, dope. I'm gonna rehydrate back up to 179 since that's what Kevin Holland is. Which is basically what Chimaev confirmed in the cage. That's pretty much what he said.
Credit to Joe Rogan for reminding Chimaev that he needs to make weight, though, because it seems like Chimaev was under the impression that it's cool to not make weight, and so I'm glad Joe Rogan reminded him that it's not cool to not make weight.
Yeah,
it's just amazing that matchup got made to begin with ever. Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. I cannot believe that matchup got made.
Dude, it annoys me.
I like Dana, but
it
that's
annoys
the
me.
worst of Dana.
It annoys me now more than ever that people don't make weight because now I'm in a gym with people who are constantly trying to fight and make weight and go to these events and things like that. And there's one kid who fought this past weekend for our gym for Tampa Muay Thai. Gabo is his name. Dude took over somebody who couldn't fight that weekend from our gym. Took over the fight last minute. 2 days notice. Made weight. Fought, won the fight. What was his excuse?
Wow.
Like, I gotta do better, man. Gotta do better.
Hey, let's talk about real quick where these two guys go from here. We're getting a little long on time, guys.
Wow, we are. Jeez.
Let's start with the winner here. Khamzat Chimaev. Mark, give me a name at, I guess, middleweight, since that's what they're hinting at.
So I'll give you both. Okay. If it's welterweight, which is what I wish it was, just because, again, he started at middleweight. But this whole climb, like he just fucking beat Gilbert Burns one fight ago. I feel like we got to finish out the welterweight thing after we beat Gilbert Burns. So I hope it's at welterweight. If it is, I think it's got to be Colby. I think it's where we are. I think Colby answers the questions that we want to see answered in relation to Chimaev, in terms of what Omar was referencing about how hard he comes out the gate and what happens when he fights a guy like a Colby who we know is never going to mentally break. His jaw was hanging off against Usman, and he's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm trying to keep fighting here. We know he's not going to go away. We know Chimaev can't just bully him, or can he, I guess, is the question. Can he physically bully him? So I think that's the fight that makes easily the most sense of any fighter on the roster to match Chimaev up with at this point. If Colby is still going to be out a while, I guess you could go with the Bilal-Sean Brady winner, which would also be an intriguing matchup for Chimaev. And if he does say he's going back to middleweight, which would kind of suck, part of me wants to say, like, all right, well, he should be fighting like maybe a fringe-ranked fighter or something since he hasn't really proven it at middleweight. Like, his best middleweight win is Gerald Meerschaert. But I do feel like Chimaev has become such a star that doesn't even make sense and that he'd have to fight a name. So, a guy we were struggling to match up last week was Marvin Vettori. We said maybe Strickland or Cannonier. They just got booked against each other. If Chimaev is going to middleweight, hey, fuck it. I'll put him with Marvin Vettori.
Vettori. Wow, that's shooting him up to the very top of the middleweight division.
Yeah, I just feel like he's such a star that you almost don't have a choice. Like, if you booked Chimaev against, like, a Brendan Allen,
like,
it feels
I
like
was going to say Chris
doing?
Curtis.
Even though, you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't,
Was Mearshart the last middleweight that he beat?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who you're gonna book him against like Duplessis? Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this: it's got to be Colby for welterweight. Like I need the Colby fight. I need it all day. So there's that.
I mean, just looking at the middleweight rankings, it is so much more interesting to me for Chimaev to be at 185. They're just more. I mean, at 170, he's just such a juggernaut, man.
Do you think that he would walk right through Colby?
No, absolutely not.
I think Colby gives up a lot of size to Chimaev, man.
He does, but I would still love to see that fight.
I mean, they're basically in like different. They're just in different weight classes, man. It's just in different weight clases.
Yeah,
Colby's not that small though, but he's also not that small. And at the same time, there's still questions there though. It's not. I don't think it's an easy 1-2 answer. Unfortunately for that fight, I think there's. Again, for all the shit talk I talk about Colby, like Colby's a good fucking fighter. He's a decent wrestler, decent striker. When he puts it all together, like I said before, the kid is borderline unstoppable when he puts it all together.
It would be a very interesting matchup, but I think that Covington has obviously the wrestling pedigree to not get completely shut out on the ground, but I think he would just get overall mauled.
Wow.
It's just so much size. It's just so much size.
It's a lot of size.
At 170.
I agree. It's a lot of size. He doesn't have that same size against like an Usman. I mean, he still has size, but it's not like everyone else he matches up with. It's like, wow, he's so much bigger.
At 185, especially now with the way that things have gone down this last week, I need the Costa fight at 185. Costa and him have gone back and forth, and if you're going to give him Vittori, then give him Costa for that.
Only reason I didn't say it, I know they have their beef, is because I really want to see Costa and Whitaker, so I stayed away. But I know they've had their shit, so you're right. That could easily happen.
Yeah. Apparently Robert Whitaker wants to be like Dungeons and Dragons Slayers with Chimaev now. He's talking about training and slaying bad guys together and whatever the hell else.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's talk Kevin Holland for a second. Where does he go next at 170 pounds, Mark?
I don't mind giving Holland another big fight. He kind of saved this card in a way.
Yeah.
He kind of got screwed a little bit with the glove touch. Like, I'm happy to reward Kevin Holland. I've mentioned this fight before. I think him and Luque would be a fun fight, and Luque's lost recently. I think that's a cool one.
That's a great matchup. Omar, you have any other names?
I would actually not hate the Stephen Thompson fight. I think him versus Wonderboy is very, very interesting, and I think to watch Kevin Holland try to solve the puzzle of Wonderboy with his Kevin Hollandness would be super interesting.
I'm very interested to see
Kevin
Hollandness. I'm very interested to see where Chimaev is in the Priaulx rankings, but we will get there. But in the meantime, we got to keep going, guys. We've only gotten through the main and co-main fucking events.
Yeah, we got to move.
Okay, also at a catch weight of 180 pounds at UFC 279, Daniel Rodrigues defeats Li Jingliang by split decision, earning 29-28 on two of the judges' scorecards. Jingliang getting his own 29-28. Mark, what was your take? Who did you have on the scorecard there?
This was horse shit.
Guys, I got to tell you something. Omar.
Oh, boo.
I rewatched it.
No.
I think D-Rod won.
No.
It was close.
I can't believe it.
Nope.
Live, I was so furious. I didn't understand how it could possibly go D-Rod's way. I want to rewatch it again so I rewatched it today and I scored it for D-Rod and I was like, oh my God, what just happened? So then I went to MMA Decisions and I was like, maybe a lot more people are scoring it for D-Rod than I realized. And no, like something like fucking 85% or 90 had it for Jingliang. So I would like to watch it a third time. But I got to tell you, live I thought he got robbed. On the rewatch, I didn't. I thought Lee won a close round one. I thought he, pretty clearly won it. I thought D-Rod clearly won round 3. And I thought it came down to 2. And I know Lee had the bigger moment in 2. He had that sequence where he hit D-Rod hard twice and kind of had him backing up and stumbling a bit. And that's probably the moment that made me think he took it live. But on the rewatch, that moment was not enough for me to give him the round. He was behind before it. Right after it, D-Rod scored points again. He was peppering Lee with that jab all fight long, more than I realized watching it live. Lee was rarely landing all that clean. The leg kicks were really the thing that was keeping him in it, scoring-wise. But, yeah, it was way, way closer than I thought. And honestly, I want to hear from the listeners in the comments what you guys think, but only if you've rewatched it. I don't want to hear from you, and I will ignore the fuck out of you if you're yelling at me and you've only watched it live. Rewatch the fight, specifically round 2, and I want to hear who you score that fight for and why. And I'm going to watch it again, too, because I think it was a lot closer than people realize.
Omar, I think he has a different take.
Yeah, you're not going to fucking ignore me, and I didn't rewatch shit. I can tell you this. Jingliang, motherfuckers, won at least 2 out of 3 of those rounds. I had him winning all 3 rounds, but I will take a 2 out of 3 if you have it. But this D-Rod 1 shit is nonsense. Jingliang has been disrespected this whole fucking fight week, from the suit to the cancellation to the rebooking to the robbery. This is nonsense.
One more thing. Did you hear what he said today? He didn't get any extra money.
No?
He said my pay was not bumped at all.
Nah. Bro.
How fucking bullshit is that?
How do we live like this? How does this work?
That is some bullshit, man.
I said it during this reshuffle episode that we did. If you haven't checked it out, go do that. Justice for my man, Jingliang. This is ridiculous. So no, I don't accept that D-Rod won. D-Rod doesn't like people talking shit apparently either and wants to run it back, and I'm fully for it because that was nonsense.
I want you to rewatch it too. Next week, I want to hear it. Or text me. One of these nights, find the time. You only have to watch round 2. Well, and you thought he won all 3. I thought D-Rod won the 3rd round.
I'll rewatch the whole thing. All right. I want to hear. But I will tell you, Mike, I'm jumping your gun here, but
it's okay.
I'm going to give justice to Lee because my suggestion for the matchups for the two of them is each other again. I think there were a lot of extenuating circumstances. They didn't get to train for each other. Lee was at an 8-pound disadvantage. The fight was close as shit. The result was controversial. A lot of moving parts that went into this thing. They both seem like they're down to fight again. I think when a fight's that close, that many circumstances, you can just say, you know what, we're going to do this one again. And that's what I'd like to see.
Especially when Jingliang gets bumped out of the top 15. All the way
Dana
out
said he
at this
thought Lee
point.
won as well.
Oh, wow. Omar, would you be down to see the rematch, or you want to see them go separate ways up the rankings?
No, I want my man Lee to stamp that was a win. And we talked about it, like I think Mark briefly talked about the MMA decisions like online. Everybody's got Jingliang winning pretty heftily. In the 3rd round, the one that they do have D-Rod winning, that is a pretty close 50-50 split. It's like 54-43 split on whether Jingliang or D-Rod won. And like I said, if you want to give me 2 out of 3 for Jingliang and you want to give the 3rd round to D-Rod, I'm fine with that. But I had Lee winning 1 and 2, in my opinion, pretty damn handily. Close, but I thought it was pretty clear that he won the fight. Or won one of those rounds.
Hand-damnedly. Okay. Should we move on? Sorry,
Justice
were you
for
not done?
Jingliang. No, I'm done. I'm
I'm going to watch it again. I'll let you know what I get on the 3rd rewatch. But the bottom line is the fight was close. It was
very close. It was very close.
It's a good fight,
and the
too,
split
to be
decision reflects that. Okay. Let's march on here. Let's throw a few of the remaining fights from UFC 279 into our lightning round. At a catch weight of 140 pounds. God, a lot of fucking catch weights. How many catch weights on this pay-per-view card?
No one made weight. No one made weight.
The only one that was supposed to be catch weight was Holland and D-Rod originally. Everyone else is because people can't make weight.
At a catch weight of 140 pounds, Irene Aldana round 3 knockout over Macy Chazon by devastating, never-before-seen heel kick to the liver off of her back. Mark, go first.
This was a brutal loss for Macy Chazon. I mean, she endured a really tough round 1. She was getting pieced up a bit on the feet. Then she gets stuck in an arm bar. Then she is eating shots on the ground to close the round out. And she friggin' guts it out. She comes out of round 2, marches forward at a better striker, pours it on Irene Aldana, and gets a borderline 10-8 round. And then in the third, she's likely ahead in that round. She had just landed a big right. Then she gets a takedown. It's looking like she might be on her way to an enormous victory. And then, boom, a heel kick from the ground to the liver, almost like an axe kick style with the heel, from her back from Aldana. I've never seen anything like it. I had no idea what happened live. I literally was fucking clueless. I thought like she got hit in, well, not the nuts, but whatever. And
yeah, same.
And
it's true.
Yeah, just when I saw the replay, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that just put her down like that. But that was freaking amazing. And you got to give credit to Aldana. I doubt she ever thought that she could land quite that solidly. Like, I don't think she ever thought I'm going to finish a fight this way, but
yeah.
She managed to pull off a crazy memorable finish, stole a fight back that she was kind of starting to lose, it seemed like, and gets an enormous win, and kind of keeps herself right on the fringe of that title picture.
Omar, go.
Yeah, what an amazing fight from Aldana. The first round is kind of what I imagined the fight to be, as far as, you know, her striking and kind of working around Chazon and being, you know, just a better overall striker. But Chazon did what Chazon does in the second round, and she just put the pressure on her, and I think that started to wear on Aldana, and having Aldana on her back foot. And although Aldana is good striking on her back foot, you can't strike an entire fight on your back foot. But the third round was really where everything kind of came to a head, and that heel kick is kind of crazy, right? Because it just completely shut her off. She like curled up, her whole body just kind of went right down. I also thought she got kicked in the cooch. I thought something broke or something like that. I don't know. Obviously, I think amongst us three here, we don't know shit about how that works out there. So I don't know if it works the same way as it works for us. I'm just saying, I don't know if it works the same way as it works for us, right? Like, we get kicked down there. We all know what that feels like. I don't know if it's the same for women, right?
Impossible.
I don't think
I'm pretty sure you don't want to get kicked there. Pretty confident.
I mean, yeah. Sure.
Not as bad as us, but I don't think it's fun.
Yeah. I don't know if you can break things down there. I don't know. The point is, I don't think they wear cups down there, right? There's no lining or whatever. I don't know, dude.
Might be something wearing maxi pads. God damn.
What path are we taking right now?
The Thai cups are basically just go over the gooch. So I didn't know if for women they could just apply the same thing. I don't know. Safety first and shit. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
finish. Good. Lightning.
Good win for Aldana. Nice liver kick.
This lightning round is sponsored by Maxi Pads. Okay, here we go. In the light heavyweight division, Johnny Walker gets back in the win column by defeating Ian Cutelaba by submission via rear naked choke at the end of round number 1. Omar, go first.
No vagina talk for this one. Johnny Walker pulled off an interesting flex here. Of all the things I saw him doing in this fight, taking it to the ground and completely outworking him on the ground and working for a submission was probably not on my bingo card, to be honest. Was very impressive, all things concerned, especially considering we had talked about me not having that much faith in Johnny Walker, especially recent performances and how he'd been doing. But this was a great performance, a great showing, solid jiu-jitsu, and got it done pretty goddamn quick. Good on Johnny Walker.
Mark.
Told you Johnny Walker would win in the first round by knockout submission. Never saw the sub coming. Big win for Johnny. That slam into the back take was beautiful. How quick he pulled that off. How about the jiu-jitsu of Johnny Walker? Showed us a new wrinkle to his game and gets himself a huge, much-needed win for his career, does it with a finish, which is even bigger for him, and we'll see if he can build a little bit of momentum.
Okay, at a catch weight of 149.5 pounds, Julian Erosa defeats Hakeem Dawodu in impressive fashion, earning himself a unanimous decision victory, 30-27s across the board. Mark, go first.
This was incredible to me. I don't know what Hakeem Dawodu's cut was like. Obviously, he missed weight by like 4 or 5 pounds. So maybe it was very bad, and he was half a step slower than he normally is, because I fully expected him to have a noticeable speed advantage over Julian Erosa, like he tends to have over everyone. And he did not have it. It literally just was not there. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. Erosa himself is a tough one to evaluate. I feel like some guys make him look like he's kind of like mid-level, and then other guys he looks like a freaking world beater, which makes me think maybe the issue is Erosa, that maybe it's just he has some up-and-down performances, and it's kind of something with him where he's figuring how to be more consistent. Mm-hmm. But either way, I mean, that was wildly impressive to do what he did to Hakeem Dawodu, and it seems like we may be breaking into a new level of Julian Erosa here that we're going to have to acknowledge.
Omar.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I've seen potential in Julian Erosa for years at this point. It's just really nice that he seems to have found the gains in that potential and trying to show it at this point. I think, and I texted this to Mark this past weekend, I think this was the best Julian Erosa that we've seen. His domination everywhere, whether it was on the feet, on the ground, he was styling. He was styling everywhere, and he looked really, really fucking good. And it may have been because Dawodu didn't look nearly as good as he normally does. Maybe Julian Erosa was able to shut him down. Don't really know how much of either one side you can give credit for. You know, who knows the depth to how that worked out, the percentages of how that is. But you can't take away what Julian Erosa did that night, because that was a fantastic performance and definitely the best I've seen from him.
Before we move on, I want to point out one thing to the credit of Julian Erosa, that this man will not go away in his career. This is his third stint in the UFC.
Oh, is it really?
He came into the UFC off tough back in 2015. Mm-hmm. Won a fight, lost a fight, they let him go. He fights for, what do we got here? Fights for 2 more years, gets a shot on Dana White's Contender Series, wins, comes back to the UFC, goes 0-3 in that UFC run, gets cut, takes one fight outside the UFC, wins, jumps back in as a short notice replacement against Sean Woodson back in 2020, and since doing that has won 5 of 6 UFC fights.
Wow.
So credit to that man for not going away.
Wow. All right, at a catch weight of 120 pounds, Jailton Almeida defeats Anton Turkalj by submission via rear naked choke towards the end of round number 1. Omar, go first.
Credit to Turkalj for taking the fight on short notice, for sure. 8-0, you know what I mean? I'm sure he had a lot of confidence going into that fight. But Almeida is, and we've said it before, at this point at least a few times, the man is an absolute savage. He's an animal. He's a beast. I mean, it's hard to see where this man is going to get stopped, to be honest, because the way he's pulling off these performances they're pretty fucking dominant. And it's quite scary. So credit to Almeida. I'm super interested to see what happens with his career and where he goes from here. But yeah, crazy ass performance. Amazing sub.
Mark.
This dude is like larger Chimaev. He won in pretty much the same exact fashion. He jumps between 2 weight classes. Soon it's just going to be Chimaev is the champ of 170, 185, and Almeida's got 205 in heavyweight. I don't know if I really think he's going to be champ, but like the conversation maybe should start that he might be that good. Like, I don't know how you beat this guy. He is so damn athletic that it's relatively easy for him to get inside of you and inside on you, because he's just so quick. Like in this fight, he did like some stupid jump move, like half fucking around, like he was going to throw a jumping strike, and then he's just 1 inch away and grabs him and takes him down. Like he's so fast, he's so athletic. It's impossible to keep him off you. And once he has his hands on you, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. Every fight we've seen so far, it's like clockwork, and he's really methodical about it too. Like he's every little move he makes, he doesn't rush it. He's opposite of Chimaev in that way. He takes his time, works, sets up the sub, and puts you out. But this dude is the real deal.
All right. In the middleweight division, these guys made weight. Dennis Tululin defeats Jamie Pickett by TKO with knees and punches and elbows and everything except the kitchen sink towards the end of round number 2. Mark, take it first.
Yeah, kind of how I envision this one going. Jamie Pickett is a guy who likes to work from space. He's very smooth. But Tululin stuck to the game plan. He walked forward the whole time. He had to eat some shots here and there, but he crowded Pickett all fight. And Pickett just doesn't have the tools to keep a guy off him for a whole 15 minutes who was fighting in his face like that. And he couldn't. Eventually gets put down, and a big win for Tululin.
Omar.
Yeah. I mean, that finish was absolutely fantastic. Tululin is what seems like a tank, just walking forward, taking whatever he could. And it didn't really seem to faze him. I don't have great confidence in Jamie Pickett overall. I can't honestly remember who I picked last week, but I can't imagine it was Jamie Pickett.
We didn't pick this one.
Oh, we didn't? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I would have picked Jamie Pickett. But it was a fantastic performance from Tululin. Another one I'm interested to see what happens because, again, the way he fights is a problem, but he might run into some opposition that's able to put him out.
I agree.
All right. At a catch weight of 267.5 pounds, Chris Beast Boy Barnett defeats Jay Collier by TKO midway through round number 2. Omar, what was your takeaways? Lightning of Beast Boy getting it done.
So credit to Chris Barnett because in his last fight we had a little bit of wonder, whether he had quit in that fight or whatever that case was. This man took a beating for the first half of that fight. Definitely got his eye closed up. Took a lot of damage. Was able to weather the storm and then come back and put on a little beating of his own, gain top position, and just rained down punches until the referee pulled him off. Good credit for Barnett. I always remember the replacements now. Every time I see Chris Barnett, he's like, I love watching fat guys get a touchdown. And he's like, why? He's like, fat guy touchdown, fat guy dance. And that's exactly what we got from Chris Barnett. We got a nice, beautiful dance right out the octagon with 2 double fisting beers. He's a great character, man. I love him.
Dude, classic movie.
Oh, I love it. I love The Replacements.
I didn't even hear what you said. What movie did you reference?
The Replacements. John Madden.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I think he said, because then you get a fat guy spike and a fat guy dance.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Okay, Mark, you go.
Chris Barnett is a fucking legend. I mean, what an entertainer. I think he's thankful for the crowd. Just a hunch. I'm not sure if he said that 17 times.
Yeah. I didn't hear it.
But damn, this guy knows how to bounce back from a fucking loss. My God, that's twice now. He debuts against Rothwell, gets choked out, comes back with a spinning wheel kick of Jean Vellante to make everyone forget about the loss. Then he has his last fight, kind of gets grinded out by Martin Budai. Comes back in this one and pulls that shit off. So yeah, the dude knows how to bounce back. That's for sure. And that was a hell of a win.
Yeah.
Okay, one more, guys. The final bout on the early prelims on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and Fight Pass. In the women's featherweight division, Norma Dumont defeats Danielle Wolf by unanimous decision, looking pretty dominant throughout. Mark, take it first.
Yeah, Norma Dumont just worked Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf is a credentialed boxer, but Norma Dumont welcomed her to every aspect of MMA, to be frank. The MMA striking range is very different than boxing striking range. And I think Danielle Wolf learned that because she was struggling even in the boxing because of everything else she had to think about and worrying about the kicks that she was in range of and things like that. Obviously, Dumont then worked in the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, all of it. Danielle Wolf was just overmatched.
Omar, take us home.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Norma Dumont took home a body that night. She kind of, frankly, she beat the shit out of that girl. She got her down to the ground, didn't let her breathe, didn't let her do anything. It was a mauling for all sense of the word. So credit to Norma Dumont for doing what she does. There's not a lot of fights that we get to see at 145, but when we do, chances are Norma Dumont is there. So credit to her.
All right, boys. That does it for this week's lightning round. And now, let's find out who has risen and who has fallen in Mark's very own rankings system that we call affectionately the Priaulx Rankings. Take it away, buddy.
Let's do it. So we got 3 risers and 1 faller of note this week. We'll work down from the top of the card as we always do. First one, Omar's not going to love it. Daniel Rodrigues goes from number 19 to number 15 at welterweight. The guy won the fight. He was right on the edge of these rankings. You get a W over an established name like a Jingliang, you were going to break through. So he moves to number 15 in my welterweight rankings. I believe he also broke through the UFC's welterweight rankings, correct? I think you said that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he did.
Let's find out.
Next one. Or sorry, are you checking that?
Yeah, he's 14 now.
14.
Garbage.
Next one. This one was the biggest move of this card. This one will make you happy. Yeah, boy. Julian Erosa moves from number 35 to number 22 in my featherweight ranks.
Let's go.
That was a big win over Hakeem Dawodu. He's looked really good. As I said a few minutes ago, Erosa has now won 5 of 6 in the UFC, and he is on a real run here to kind of becoming a fringe contender. Next one, Dennis Tululin. However you say his freaking crazy last name.
I think they were saying Tululin.
No, that's it. Tululin.
All right. He had started 0-1 in the UFC. Gets a big win here to get his career rolling. He moves from number 66 to number 54 in my middleweight rank, so a 12-spot jump for him. And then we get to the faller, which is on the flip side of the Julian Erosa fight. Hakeem Dawodu. The guy had been right on the edge of the rankings. I was surprised he hadn't gotten a ranked fighter yet, and instead he kind of gets a tough break, goes the other way now. He goes from number 17 in my featherweight ranks down to number 23. And that is it for this week's ranks.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Oh, and Mike, you mentioned earlier you wanted to know where Chimaev is. He didn't move for me. I still have him in the same exact spot, which is number 3.
For
Leon's
welterweight?
the champ. Usman's 1. Colby's 2. Chimaev's 3.
Do you also have him ranked in middleweight?
I don't.
Oh, wow. Not at all. Not anywhere in middleweight.
So my rankings, wherever your last fight took place, that's where I have you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Unless it was like you know what I mean? If it was like late notice and 2 welterweights fought at middleweight, I don't put them into middleweight. But
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Let us jump now into our next segment, Inside the MMA Sphere with Omar Artola. Omar, what's going on in the headlines of MMA?
What is going on? So, to be honest, not a whole hell of a lot is going on this week. I think this week, every bit of attention was on the madness that was UFC 279, leading up to it, the press conference and everything else, so there wasn't a ton of eyes on anything else. But we do have few things to go through, so let's get into it. First, and very much the most important part of this segment is going to be this. We want to, as a group here, wish Elias Theodoro and his family, our condolences. He unfortunately passed away from stage 4 liver cancer on, I believe it was September 11th or 12th. I can't remember now. Either way, it was a shocking thing to everybody in the MMA community. Very similarly to Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther for Marvel, who also passed away from cancer. I believe it was also liver cancer, but I can't remember specifically. Either way, both of them kind of dealt with it in very similar fashions where they didn't tell anybody. It was a very, very small group of people who knew apparently what they were going through. And so once, Elias passed away, the MMA community was shocked and definitely heartbroken. Fun guy to watch. I don't think any one of us thought he was going to be champion anytime soon, but he was definitely a fun guy to watch. Very charismatic. One of the first guys to ever get a doctor's exemption for marijuana when marijuana was still a pain in the ass to deal with when it came to MMA and drug use. Was also the first ring card boy for Invicta FC, for those of you who may not know that was a thing. He was a good dude. He was always kind of advocating for positive things, including, marijuana use, exemptions for, positive CBD and THC uses and things like that. So it sucks to see him leave. I don't know if you guys want to say anything, but yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's definitely blindsided, as you said. Obviously, no one knew about it. It was pretty wild to see. And like, on top of it, the guy, I know this doesn't mean anything, but, like, the guy's such a stud. Like, you think of him as, like, this, like, healthy young dude, and then you hear that, it's like, wow. But, yeah, rest in peace to him for sure. He always came across like a super nice guy. Like, obviously, he was on Tough. We got to see him in that environment. Always seemed like a really cool, really chill guy. He won Tough, I believe, right? He won Tough Nations.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And MMA-wise, the dude was good. Like, he had a really awkward style. He kind of looked strange the way he fought sometimes. But, I mean, he was 8-3 in the UFC. So even in terms of his MMA career, he's probably a guy who was underrated, who didn't get the credit he deserved for how good he was there as well. So, yeah, tough guy to see go. It's a sad one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. His nickname was the Spartan. It could have been Tarzan because he looked like Tarzan, and that he was a handsome man and quite jacked. And I wish I looked like him. Yeah, totally unexpected. Mark said it perfectly. Like a guy who's young and in shape like he is, you would never think of somebody like that getting cancer, and it was really tragic. And he kept it to himself. He was also a great follow on Twitter. He was super active on Twitter, and
he was funny.
Yeah, he was funny. It was good stuff from him, man. He will be missed. Rest in peace, Elias Theodoro.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else you got,
well, we also touched on it already a little bit, but BKFC president is interested in signing Nate Diaz to fight Mike Perry. Definitely be on the lookout for any kind of updates from there. But that would be, I mean, that fight, especially for BKFC's history, I think that would probably be the biggest fight that they've ever held. So I don't blame the president for trying to get on that ASAP. Next on the list, Thiago Santos is no longer with the UFC. He has officially signed to PFL and will be making his 2023 debut. And the last quote-unquote story we have is kind of a weird one. I don't really have a follow-up for you. I only really have kind of what happened and no real explanation. So we're all just as confused as anybody. So Coach Kavanaugh trains with Johnny Walker. Is in his corner, obviously, for that fight. Johnny Walker wins his fight. For some odd reason, the UFC apparently went after the fight was over and they were in the back. The UFC allegedly kicked them out of the event, of the building. And, like, there are pictures and videos of them walking outside, Coach Kavanaugh, like, recording these things. They didn't even give Johnny Walker a chance to like change. Johnny Walker's in the middle of Vegas, like with his fight shorts on, no socks, no shoes, no shirt. Looks like he literally walked from the octagon.
His gloves on still.
Yeah, he didn't even have the gloves off. Like it's
still be on though.
That's the point though. It looks like he literally went from the octagon and like was escorted outside. Like he never got a chance to do anything. Very weird moment, very weird posts to see on Twitter post UFC 279, but especially because there was no real context. No one really acknowledged it on the UFC side. It's all just very like Coach Kavanaugh saying something about it. I almost
doubted it. Like I was like, is this staged? Because it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't seem like something that Kavanaugh would do, though. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy to be doing that kind of shit. Johnny Walker, 100%. 100% would pull some shit like this. But Kavanaugh, not so much. And Kavanaugh's the one who posted it. So,
yeah, I
don't know. Seems weird either way. I wonder if we'll hear any more about it.
We haven't got an explanation.
That's where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at.
To like hear the story, and then we just didn't hear anything at all.
And we've even had a Contender Series post-presser since then. Still nothing. So, I don't know. Very weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into some fight announcements, which there are not many of. And then we'll hop into next week's card. Uros Medic is out, and now Mike Davis will be facing Vyacheslav Borishev at UFC Vegas 61 on October 1st. Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen will headline UFC's Fight Night on October 29th.
Oh, great fight.
That is a sick fight right there. Julio Arce versus Montel Jackson has been added to UFC's 281 card on November 12th in Madison Square Garden. That card is absolutely phenomenal. And last but not least, Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland have been rebooked officially. It is going down on the December 17th Fight Night card. It is the main event of that card. So that'll be interesting to watch that fight finally go down. And that is all we have for you this week. Nice and quick.
Ooh, nice and quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, gentlemen, let us look ahead to this coming weekend's UFC Fight Night. Sandhagen versus Song. You know, I never know which is the first name and which is the last name.
Dude,
for
it's the
the Chinese fighters.
I know.
The problem is there's no consistency from our side though, because over there their family name comes first, and then their first names come second. So it is reversed. Like so for example,
we
so
know
his last
that.
name is his surname. His surname is Song.
Right. Is it because I know we technically reverse it, which is the problem. We don't just fucking leave it alone. We reverse it for our sake.
He's referred to as Song Yadong.
But did we change it?
But so this is what I was going to say. We know that that over there the family name comes first.
Right.
However, the UFC consistently changes the way they present the names. Like on this card,
this is my point.
He is Yadong Song, even though previously he's been Song Yadong. They did the same thing in the beginning. It was Weili Zhang. Then she was suddenly Zhang Weili. UFC has no consistency. It's them that switch it up.
Yes. Yeah. Either way, that's definitely been the problem.
Well,
so I don't even know which one is his family name. I'm assuming Song because it sounds more like a family name, and that Yadong would be his unique name. But I don't even know.
I would agree.
Let's go with it.
It seems like
Sandhagen
Song
versus
is his,
Song.
Yeah.
Well, either way, a fight is going down this Saturday night, September 17th, at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, and it is quite the main event, gentlemen. Before we get into the main event or a few other fights that we're going to kind of break down and preview for our listeners and viewers, any other fights you guys want to highlight? For people to definitely check out. Any fights or fighters?
Omar, you've been going first lately. You want to keep it up?
You can go first this time.
All right, I shall. There's honestly a handful I would highlight here. One of them is you have a kid named Daniel Zellhuber, who is making his debut. He is undefeated so far. He's looked very impressive. There's some hype behind him. He beat Lucas Almeida on the Contender Series, who then actually debuted before he did and beat Mike Trezano. So it shows you how good Almeida is already, and Zellhuber beat him. So he's making his debut against Trey Ogden. He's definitely a name to watch. And then another debuting fighter is Joseph Pfeiffer. I think it's Pfeiffer. I can't remember how he says it. He's another Contender
It is Pfeiffer.
Series. Okay. Here, were you going to mention him? I could leave him for you if you want. I'll do a different one.
No, that's fine. I was gonna say the same thing. Just that he was on the Contender Series, had a good outing. It's good stuff. Yeah,
had a huge knockout. Alan Amadovsky is 0-3 in the UFC. It almost seems like they kept him around to feed him to one more guy. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen here. So keep an eye on Joseph Pfeiffer, and then I might have one more, but Omar, you could jump in.
The one that I had on my list was I like watching Luma Lookboonmee. I know she's had a little up and down lately, but I genuinely like watching her fight. She's generally Muay Thai striking based, and I generally enjoy watching her fight. She's got a fight with Denise Gomes, who had a good showing on the Dana White's Contender Series, and now is getting a shot in the actual UFC. But it'll be interesting to see how the fight goes down.
Yeah, we're gonna preview 8 of these fights here, but the only other one I was gonna mention was that one we left out because we tried to narrow this down and not do the entire card is Tanner Boser, who's obviously a quality heavyweight. He's a guy who has had some decisions not go his way. He could even be ranked higher than he is at the moment if they had gone his way. But he's on the card fighting Rodrigo Nascimento. So keep an eye on that one. That should be a good fight as well.
Okay. First up, In the bantamweight division, Javid Basharat out of London, England, the Snow Leopard, coming in undefeated, 12-0, taking on Tony Gravely from the United States out of Virginia. So Basharat, like I said, he's 12-0, 27 years old. Only one of those wins coming by way of decision. He's got 5 knockouts, 6 submissions. He won on the Contender Series and then won his first fight in the UFC at UFC Fight Night 203, Santos versus Ankalaev against Trevin Jones. Tony Gravely, 30 years old, 23-7 as a pro, 10 wins by knockout with 3 subs, coming off of back-to-back wins, most recently against Johnny Munoz Jr. Mark, why don't you give us your thoughts first and your pick?
Okay, so Basharat is the favorite here. He's minus 165. Tony Gravely is plus 135. Tony Gravely is the more known commodity to UFC fans. He's one of those guys. He can wrestle. He also carries the power. He can knock you out. I was so impressed with Javid Basharat's debut, though. There's no way I can't pick him here. I was so interested to see him again. He looked great to me against Trevin Jones. I think that his technique is probably going to look like it's a level above here. I don't think this style matchup is even terribly different than Trevin Jones was. Granted, Gravely does have more knockout power, but I think Basharat can fight a similar fight. I think he's going to look like the slicker fighter here. I hope I'm right, because that would make him an intriguing prospect if he can rattle off another one here, and I'm going to go with him by UD.
Omar?
I would have to agree. I would think that Basharat is just a more well-rounded fighter of the two. I am curious, though, Mark. I don't know if you have it pulled up. What's the length difference between the two? Because something tells me that Gravely is going to be much shorter when it comes to the arm, to the reach, than Basharat. But I could be wrong.
He's 2 inches taller.
I see. So Gravely reach is 69 inches. Basharat's is 69 inches. They are the same.
Interesting. Gravely to me has always been a more compact human being in general, so I've always attributed him with just a smaller reach. But to be honest, 69 inches for somebody who's 5'5", that's relatively long, I would think, for his body frame. Yep. So
yeah, he's 4 inches shorter than Basharat, but same reach.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Either way, I still think that Basharat is just a more well-rounded fighter. I don't think that the wrestling that Gravely has is going to be significantly better to take any kind of advantage from it in that fight. I also think that while he is compact and he has the power behind it, I think he ends up cocking back quite a bit. A lot of his punches don't really seem like they come from the chamber. They seem like they come very much from kind of a winging, I'm going to try to take your head off kind of standpoint. For those of you, so in the chamber, just really quick, for those of you who are watching, chamber is basically like from your fight stance with your hands kind of protecting you, right? Like from a fight stance. Gravely's boxing generally with his hooks and things like that will tend to come from very much outside. And so there's a lot more distance to cover. But because he's so compact, unlike guys who are a lot longer, he doesn't have to go that much further because that's just, he doesn't need to cover that much ground compared to a lot of other people. So his hooks tend to work a lot better than others. But with his length and stuff like that, it is very interesting to see how he can take advantage of those moments if he can. But I'll be going with Basharat by UD.
Yeah, I think we're unanimous here. I think Basharat is just a dynamic striker, an overall fighter. And I think that Gravely is going to get subbed again. I'm going to go with Basharat by submission in round number 2. I'm going to say he gets the something like a guillotine or maybe rear naked. Okay, in the women's flyweight division, Mariya Agapova, or is it Agapova? I can never know.
Agapova, they've been saying
Agapova.
Lately, yeah.
Taking on Gillian the Savage Robertson. So we have Agapova from Kazakhstan, of course, 25 years old, young prospect, 10-3 as a pro, 3 knockouts, 5 subs on her record. Coming off of a loss against Moroz, so she's looking to get back in the win column. Gillian Robertson also coming off of a loss against J.J. Aldrich. Robertson 10-7 as a professional, 27 years old herself from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Omar, let me send it over to you first this time. Could be a grappler's delight this time. What do you think?
Yes, Gillian Robertson has been around the game for quite a minute. And if we're being perfectly honest, I've never really felt that she had a very high ceiling with her skills. She's a very raw fighter. Very, very tough. You can't take anything away from her toughness by any stretch of the imagination, but there is a difference in talent when it comes to her and the elite of that division. When I watch somebody like Agapova or Agapova, when I watch somebody like Agapova
again this weekend, because every time we do this and we say, now they're saying this, then we watch it and go back to the fucking old way. So,
yeah. Well, Mariya, how about that? So, anytime I've seen Mariya fight, whether it's win or lose, there's definitely always a fight at play, and there's definitely always some scrambles, and I never really feel like she's being completely outclassed, whereas some fights that I've seen Gillian Robertson, that's exactly how I felt. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go with Mariya Agapova here. I think that she gets it done. As tough as Gillian Robertson is, I think the ground game from Agapova is better overall. I think this has to end up on the ground at some point. I think it's unlikely that this stays standing for 3 rounds. But when I think it does go to the ground, I think Agapova has an advantage there. So I will go with submission win, round 2, Agapova.
Take it, Mark.
Okay, Agapova is the dog. She's plus 125. Gillian Robertson's minus 150. Pretty close. One of them is short notice. I believe it's Agapova. I forget what this original fight was supposed to be. I actually have a very different take than that. I have no confidence in Agapova on the ground. I'm going to have to go with Robertson. This could look like a stupid pick because I think Agapova is so aggressive on the feet and Robertson is so raw on the feet that if this thing plays out before it hits the mat, it could easily look like Agapova smoked her. But I can't pick her to beat a grappler right now. Like, she was lost under Shayna Dobson, which was not a good loss. She was lost under Marina Moreau's last fight in a fight where I thought she was going to come out with the win, and Moreau just controlled her the entire time. She couldn't get up, couldn't change the fight. And unless Robertson just gets blitzed, I think she can probably drag this thing down and grind out a W, if not even find a submission. But I will say Gillian Robertson UD just because my confidence in Agapova on the ground is shot, but I will hope that things are fixed because I think that there is a possibly dangerous fighter in there in Mariya Agapova if she can shore up some of the holes that she has been showing. But I'll go Robertson UD.
I mean, you're making a lot of good points, but I do think that Agapova is dangerous. And at this point, Robertson, I see Robertson as sort of a journeywoman, or so I'm going to go Agapova by TKO. I think Robertson does get blitzed because Agapova, like you said, is very aggressive. So I'm going to go Agapova by TKO round 1 towards the end of the round 1.
I like it. 3 different picks.
Boom. Okay, sticking with the ladies here, in the women's bantamweight division, Aspen Ladd taking on Sara McMann. So Aspen Ladd from California, of course, a 27-year-old, 9-3 as a professional. All 3 of those losses have come more recently in her record. She is 1 for 4 in her last 4 fights. Am I saying that right? 1-3 in her last 4 fights.
Yeah.
Coming off back-to-back losses against Norma Dumont and Raquel Pennington. So she's looking to get back in the win column, who was once a very highly touted prospect in women's MMA, taking on a veteran of veterans in Sara McMann, 13-6 as a pro. She is 41 years old. Like I said, 13-6, only 1 knockout win on her record, 5 submissions and 7 decisions. She's coming off of a win against Carol Rosa back in March of this year. Omar, why don't you take this one first?
It's a really interesting fight because the recent occurrences with Ladd changed what my initial thought would have been that how this fight was going to go had you asked me in like 2019, right? Like The loss of Jermaine Durandame, I can forgive. She got caught. She went down. Referee stopped it. I can live with that. That's fine. That happens. Shit happens. Then she beats the shit out of Yana Kunitskaya. That's the Aspen lad we know. Then the pandemic hits. The whole world goes to hell. Who knows what happens to this girl, what she's been going through, what she's doing. We all know that there was some sort of drama with, her partner or whatever, however that worked out, and also being in her fight camp and corner and stuff like that. Whatever. Then she comes out for Norma Dumont. Losing a fight, and we've talked about this often, losing a fight is one thing, but when you lose a fight and don't even look like you know how to fight or look like yourself, then it's like a whole different thing that we have to worry about. And that's what happened with Aspen Ladd. She just didn't look like herself. We joked about it when it happened that it's like she forgot how to fight in the last year that she was gone. Didn't look like herself in the Norma Dumont fight. All right, ring rust, pandemic hit, shit happens. Cool. Raquel Pennington. Kind of the same shit. It wasn't a great performance from Aspen Ladd, and it looked significantly worse than the performances that had really put her on the map to begin with. And it inspired less and less confidence as the fights went on, and now we're at a point now where I have to choose between two fighters that I respect, but don't have as ton of confidence that they are going to be able to close the show in their favor. Both of them very tough. Both of them very well-rounded when it comes to the ground game. Sara McMann's hands have gotten significantly better over the years, although she's not, going to be winning any Golden Glove competitions anytime soon. But her hands are a lot better than they used to be. Aspen Ladd has been decently well-rounded from jump. Her ability to switch where she needs to go, whether it's standing or down to the ground. Her grappling is A+. She's excelled at that up until a certain point. So now where do you go? Whose game do you trust more? Because Sara McMann has shown an equal falter when it comes to not getting submitted on the ground. Because she does. As a wrestler, that's kind of a problem. If you want to take people to the ground, you've got to not get choked the fuck out. And she does. So it makes this fight really, really difficult to pick because both women have shown almost just as many flaws as one another in recent times. So, gun to my head, if I have to choose right now, I'll go Sara McMann by UD just because Aspen Ladd hasn't shown me that she knows what the fuck she's doing in there as of recent. Again, 2019 Aspen Ladd, I'd be picking her over Sara McMann. 2022 Aspen Ladd, as of right now, I can't do it. So I go with Sara McMann by unanimous decision.
Mark?
On this one, we have the same take. Before I forget, Aspen Ladd is favored -140, Sara McMann +115, so very tight on those odds. Can you pick Aspen Ladd right now? If you're picking Aspen Ladd, you are just banking on the fact that she is going to suddenly be Aspen Ladd of 2 years ago or 3, whatever it is. To pick the Aspen Ladd that we've seen in the last 2 fights specifically doesn't make a lot of sense. So as much as it's possible that she could bounce back, I don't really see how you bet that way right now. She has been the exact opposite of encouraging. And Sara McMann, despite being 41, is still a high quality wrestler. She's still winning fights. And I just don't know if Aspen Ladd can either A, get up enough if she gets taken down, or B, be aggressive enough on the feet to hurt Sara McMann before she gets put on her back. The old Aspen Ladd could have been. This Aspen Ladd doesn't seem to have that aggression. And Omar touched on it. The way Sara McMann tends to lose a lot, because she kind of takes everyone down. But a lot of times she'll get caught in a sub from bottom. And I don't see Aspen Ladd doing that. So I guess in the end, I'm gonna land in the same place. I'll go Sara McMann by UD.
We are unanimous. I am also in the same boat of, at this point, Aspen Ladd has to show me that she can win a fight a la 2019 Aspen Ladd, 2018 Aspen Ladd, before I'm going to be picking her with any kind of confidence.
Yep.
And, Sara McMann's a veteran. I mean, even though she's 41, she's in tremendous condition, tremendous shape. I'm thinking, I feel like we're going to see Aspen Ladd. It's going to be one of these stories of just like huge touted prospect, and then just hit this skid. She might find her way out of the UFC, maybe over to Bellator or some other organization, and she might find success somewhere else. But as far as her UFC journey, it just seems to be kind of going downhill. Unless she turns in a great performance on Saturday night.
It's just shit is so crazy to me, man. How somebody, and we could talk about this with Tony too, how like it's just almost overnight to a certain extent. And while it's not, right, there's real time that passes between fights, but from fight to fight, there was just such a dramatic difference in performance that it just bodes the question, like, what happened, man?
Yeah.
I don't know. It sucks.
Okay, let's move on. Fun one in the featherweight division. Damon the Leech Jackson taking on Pat Sabatini. Damon Jackson, 21 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest. 34 years old, out of Dallas, Texas. Out of those 21 victories, 15 by way of submission. He will be carrying a 3-fight win streak coming into Saturday night, most recently defeating Dan Argueta by UD back in this most recent June. Pat Sabatini across the cage from Bristol, Pennsylvania, 17-3 as a pro with 10 submissions of his own to his name. By the way, he's 31 years old. He will be carrying in a 6-fight win streak as a pro into the UFC octagon this weekend. Not all of those 6 wins are in the UFC. This will be his 4th UFC bout, so he is 3-0 so far under the UFC banner. Mark, take this one first. Give us your breakdown and pick it up.
Sabatini's only 3-0? I thought he was more than that for some reason.
4. I'm sorry, 4-0.
Okay, Sabatini is favored. He is minus 190. Damon Jackson is plus 160. I am very excited to watch this fight. I think there could be some unreal scrambles. I want to see all the grappling between these two. Though I also think it could be fun on the feet. I think they're pretty similar on the feet as well. I think this one is going to be a scrap everywhere it goes. Damon Jackson has probably proven it more against better competition at this point, but I think it's just because Pat hasn't had the same opportunities yet. I think Pat may actually be the one who possesses more talent. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a tight fight. Both guys are dogs. I'm going to go with Pat Sabatini by UD in this one.
Wow. Okay. Omar?
Yeah, this is going to be a banger. I know we were talking about last week how we were going to start picking fight of the night. This is it right here. This is the fight of the night. This fight has every ingredient required for a fight of the night. There will be scrambles. There will be punches thrown. There will be punches dangerously landed. There might be submission attempts on both sides. There might be reversals. Like, this fight is crazy. The pace that these two are also going to put on for potentially 3 rounds is probably going to be absolute madness. You're going to throw up from watching the pace, from being that tired. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I do kind of agree with Mark that Pat Sabatini to me has looked, if I had to rate them skill for skill, looked more impressive. It is possible because he hasn't been facing the same type of competition that Damon Jackson has been facing, although the people that Sabatini has faced aren't slouches by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not the same thing. It is a very difficult fight to pick, but I will be picking Sabatini by decision. I think it'll be closer than Mark may think. I'm going to go with split decision for this.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm on the same page. I can easily see it being a split. Yeah, I'm on the same page. It's so like tough to pick that I feel like I didn't even give like a breakdown of it just because I'm like, I just want, like, they're so similar. I just want to see them to go to war, and I think somehow it's Pat on top.
In my head, it's that image of the, like, when 2 cartoons get into a fight and it's just this one big dust cloud. That's how I imagine this fight to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you'd have to think that their grappling and their submissions are going to negate each other because Jackson has 15 submission wins He's only ever been submitted once. Sabatini has 10 submission wins. He's never been submitted.
I actually don't think it will cancel each other out for one reason. Those guys enjoy being on the ground so much that I think they're just going to keep rolling until somebody catches somebody somewhere. And I while I don't necessarily think that they'll end up in a submission, I don't think it guarantees that it won't happen. I just think they're going to be in such compromised positions from the first bell all the way to the last one.
You got to think that there's going to be sub attempts, but I'll go with Sabatini by UD, I guess. I think it's going to be super close though, but I really like Pat Sabatini. I like his confidence too, coming in with 6 wins. Okay. In the light heavyweight division, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez takes on Marc-Andre Barriault, Power Bar, taking on Fluffy. This is the battle of the nicknames here. Anthony Hernandez, the Californian, 9-2 as a pro. He's 28 years old with 1 no contest. Of his 9 wins, 6 by submission. He's coming in with back-to-back wins, most recently over Josh Fremd back in April. Barriault, 32-year-old Canadian from Quebec, 14-5-1 as a pro, coming off a win against Jordan Wright. Omar, give us your synopsis here of how you think this is going to play out and ultimately your pick.
So Anthony Hernandez is an interesting guy because he made, to a certain extent, he almost made his bones off of submitting a elite grappler after that grappler could barely keep his head off the ground from exhaustion. Then went out there and had a really solid performance against Josh Fremd. And with all of that, I'm not entirely sure how to properly gauge his potential and like what I should be expecting from him going forward. I think Marc-Andre has shown just a little bit more finality in how I'm supposed to rate him and how I'm supposed to look at him and his game and how it works. But Anthony Hernandez, I think, still is either that he's growing potentially, like he's still evolving as a fighter. It could also be that the circumstances have caused him to, adjust how he needed to adjust and worked in his favor. Either way, there is something about Anthony Hernandez that I have been enjoying and a certain confidence I have in the unorthodox ways that he's been approaching his fights as of late. And I think he gets it done. I think it's going to be a tough fight, but I think he gets it done. I'm going to go with Anthony Hernandez by UD.
Okay, Mark.
Hernandez is favored here. He's minus 180. Barriault is plus 150. I am stunned at how good Anthony Hernandez looked in his last fight. He put a pace on Josh Fremd like nothing I've ever seen. The guy keeps the pace on you. He hunts for subs every fight. I mean, he's an animal. And it seemed like he hit a new level in that last fight with that pace. Barriault is a guy who disappointed early in the UFC. I want to say he started 0-3, actually, but he has won 3 of his last 4. It seems like he's starting to put it together, starting to be the guy people thought he was going to be. He is a guy who tries to put a pace on people, but I don't think he can do that to Hernandez. I don't think he has the game to turn back Hernandez, to keep Hernandez off of him. I think he may even get subbed by Anthony Hernandez. I think it may look close in round 1, and then it just starts to deteriorate for Barriault from there. I'm going to go Anthony Hernandez by round 2 sub.
Whew. Man, nice. I'm having a harder time than you guys picking this fight. I think this is going to be very close. I really like the striking of Barriault in this. I mean, yes, Anthony Hernandez, he seems like he has come a long way. I'm going to roll with Barriault this time. I'm going to take Barriault by knockout or TKO in round number 1.
Baby.
Okay, moving up here into the featherweight division, Andre Touchy Fili taking on Bill Senor Perfecto Algeo. So we have Andre Fili, the 32-year-old Californian, coming in with 21 wins, 9 losses, and 1 no contest. 9 wins by knockout, 3 submissions, coming off a loss against Joe Anderson Brito. Bill Algeo, 33-year-old Pennsylvanian coming in with 16 victories, 6 defeats, 4 knockouts, and 6 subs to his name, coming in with back-to-back wins over Joe Anderson Brito and Herbert Burns. Omar, why don't you take this one first?
How do you not love Bill Algeo? The man's a dog. The man's an absolute dog. Touchy-feely's been around for quite some time, obviously. His game has, for the most part, pretty much been consistently the same. Uses his length for the most part. Kicks and punches, obviously. But he also is very good at taking people to the ground and getting those opportunistic submissions, guillotines, and such alpha male trademarks. But Bill Algeo, like I said, is an absolute animal. I don't see him getting caught by anything that Touchy-Feely has to offer. I also think Bill Algeo's pressure is going to be a little bit too much. Yeah. As much as I like Andre Fili, and I've been a fan of his for forever at this point, I just don't see him getting past Bill Algeo. I think Algeo's way too good at this point. I'm going to go with Algeo. I'll go by decision.
Mark.
So the favorite, which I did not expect to see, is Andre Fili. He is minus 125. Super tight. Algeo's plus 105. But I thought Algeo would be favored. I thought I was going to come in here and pick the dog. Instead, I'm going to come in here and pick the favorite.
Wow.
I'm going to go Andre Fili here. He looked so damn good 2 fights back against Daniel Pineda. And I know in his last fight, he got blitzed early by Joe Anderson Brito, and he got put out. And then I know that's a guy Bill Algeo then beat. So MMA math certainly points to Algeo in that regard. I like Algeo a lot. I like his game. I like how tough he is. I think there are certain types of fighters that Bill Algeo shines against. However, I think there are other types of fighters, if you look at his 2 losses in a Ricardo Lamas and a Ricardo Ramos, who are guys that won't fade as the fight goes on, like a Joe Anderson Brito, who he beat, like a Herbert Burns, who he beat, even Spike Carlisle, who he beat, same way. All these guys come out of the gate hot as shit. And Algeo beats him because he survives. You're not going to get him out of there. And then rounds 2 and 3 are going to go his way. And I think Andre Fili is more like the guys that have beat Bill Algeo. I think he's not going to go away. And I keep thinking back to how good he looked 2 fights back against Pineda. I think maybe him getting caught by Brito was a little bit fluky. I think he can match Algeo's skill for skill anywhere this fight goes, and I'm going to say he wins a scrap. I think it's a close fight, but I will land with Andre Fili. Do I want to say split? I'll say UD, Andre Fili.
I do agree that I think this fight is a guaranteed scrap between these 2 featherweights, but I like the grittiness of Bill Algeo more, and I think that he's going to take it in a unanimous decision. I'm going to say it's going to be 29-28 across the board for Senor Perfecto. Okay, in the middleweight division, we have some fireworks going down at 185 pounds this Saturday night at UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Song. In the middleweight division, we have Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani taking on Gregory Robocop Rodrigues. Oh my goodness. Njokuani, of course, the 33-year-old brother of Anthony Njokuani, hailing from Las Vegas, Nevada, or fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. 22-7-1 as a pro. Out of his 22 victories, 14 have come by way of knockout. And he will be riding into Saturday night on the 4-fight win streak that he is currently on. He is rather new to the UFC. He was on Contender Series 3 fights ago, and then he has knocked out his other 2 opponents that he has faced in the UFC. Before that, he had a long stint in Bellator. He's fought for LFA. He has wins over guys like Max Griffin and Andre Fialho. So this guy's a vet, and he's bringing in a huge power at 185 pounds. Okay, real quick. Gregory Robocop Rodrigues, 30-year-old from Brazil, 12-4 as a pro with 7 knockouts and 3 subs to his name, coming off of a knockout victory over Julian Marquez back in June. Mark, why don't you set this one up for us and give us your thoughts on this matchup between Njokuani and Rodrigues, and ultimately your pick, please.
All right, near pick'em odds on this one. You can find them, pick 'em, depending what site you look at. The average seems to be Chidi slightly favored at -120. Rodrigues even money plus 100. These are both guys who I regularly hype up as to how legit they are. So unfortunately, I have to pick against one here. Both have major knockout power. Both are black belts on the mat. Granted, Rodrigues is a different level of black belt probably. But he loves to strike, and that's where Chidi lives. Plus, Chidi has a 4.5-inch reach advantage that he's bringing into the cage, too. And as much as Gregory Rodrigues has put guys down, there's another one where I'm going to look at the past opponents, kind of how I just did with Algeo. The guys he put down, Dushko Todorovic, kind of brawls in there. Junyoung Park, kind of brawls in there. Julian Marquez, absolutely brawls in there. The guy he lost to, Armen Petrosian, guy who's not really going to get into a brawl. He keeps his range, picks you apart, lands his shots. That's where I see Chidi. I don't think Chidi's a guy who's just going to come in there and brawl with him. I think that he has too much technique. I think he stays behind that 4-inch reach advantage, and I think he eventually finds a kill shot. I think there's an exchange, and then all of a sudden, a big clean shot lands. Hobocop is wobbled, and Chidi jumps on him for the finish. So I will say second round TKO for Chidi Bang Bang. Too much technique.
Omar.
I also agree. Where I will give Hobocop the benefit of the doubt is that his chin is actually pretty damn good. He's not going to get taken out in the first round. But I do think he ends up getting lit up, even in the first round, leading into the second round. I think by the time he gets to the second round, though, it's going to get to the point where it'll be stopped. I'm going to go with Chidi, TKO round 2.
You said Chidi?
Yes, sir.
We both said TKO round 2, same pick.
Well, gentlemen, we are unanimous once again. I will be going with Chidi and Njokuani to defeat Gregory, as Omar says, Hobocop Rodrigues. I love that you do that.
It has entered my psyche now to the
Same.
point that I was just saying it as if it's his real nickname. Like
Hobocop.
It has just become his name.
Dude, I think at middleweight, Njokuani is he's a real shot in the arm at middleweight, and he's still in his prime. I think he's a veteran, and he's bringing in huge power, great technique, like Mark said. And I'm gonna go with Njokuani by knockout in round number 3. Boom, boom. I'm tempted to go round 1. I feel like every other pick I've
So was I.
been round 1. Fireworks. All right, it is time. Boom, boom, boom. Bantamweight main event going down this Saturday night. UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Song. Cory the Sandman Sandhagen taking on Yadong Kung Fu Monkey Song. That's a fucking mouthful. Here we go. Cory Sandhagen, 30-year-old from Colorado, 14-4 as a pro with 6 knockouts, 3 subs. Unfortunately for him, and I love him, he's coming off back-to-back losses, but nothing to scoff at. Both those losses coming at the hands of T.J. Dillashaw and Petr Yan, so really nothing to hang his head about. And the loss to Dillashaw was a split, and a lot of people thought Sandhagen won. Yadong Song, 24-year-old from China, 19 wins, 6 defeats, 1 draw, 1 no contest, 8 wins by knockout, 3 submissions as well. Coming into Saturday night with a 3-fight win streak, defeating Casey Kenny, Julio Arce, and Marlon Moraes by knockout. This is going to be a great fight at bantamweight, guys. Omar, why don't you set it up for us first? Give us your thoughts and ultimately that pick.
This is a very, very interesting fight. Stylistically, I think it's very interesting. I don't think we'll see this one go to the ground as much as it might have in some other instances. Cory Sandhagen is very good on the ground, but I just feel like this fight is going to end up staying standing. Song Yadong definitely is going to want to keep it standing. And while both of them are very good at the striking, I think they both have very different approaches in how they're going to try to get it done. Song Yadong is very much a compact fighter. Another one of those guys that likes to throw power with what he has because he's got that kind of frame for it. Sandhagen is very much the kind of guy that likes to pick and jab, move around, try to time you from the outside, whether it's throwing knees or kicks or punches. He's definitely trying to do it from the outside if he can. Song Yadong would more than likely want to crash inside, try to work from the inside, hooks from a closer position, from almost like a boxing range kind of deal, and continue from there. I'd be very interested to see how much of that is allowed from either side. Both of these men like to push forward, and the pace that both men are able to keep up is very high. Cory Sandhagen, we know, is the kind of guy that will push forward. I think the few times that we saw him not be able to do that were against the two guys who he lost against. Peter Yan and TJ Dillashaw are not guys that are easily pushed back. TJ Dillashaw had to resort to holding him against the cage and essentially kind of running out the clock at that point in order to secure that fight. Peter Yan just played a much better type Muay Thai game and did work. But Cory Sandhagen still has the ability to put on a very good striking game if he has the ability to. But again, Song Yadong is no slouch. If he makes a mistake, Song Yadong is one person who is definitely capable of putting the Sandman to sleep. So, definitely something he needs to keep in mind. Definitely something he needs to worry about. It's a very difficult fight to pick. If I had to pick one, I am going with... I'm going to go with Song Yadong. By decision. I don't think he finishes him. I do think he can get 2 out of the 3 rounds. Or, no, the 3 out of the 5 rounds that this is going to be.
Okay.
All right.
Mark.
Cory is a 2-1 favorite here. He's minus 200.
Oh, wow.
Yadong's Song is plus 165. Omar said it. This is a very cool fight. And cool as well because on one end you have Cory Sandhagen, who has proven that he's as close to championship level as you can get, if not already championship level himself. Obviously, a lot of people think he beat TJ in that fight. And on the other end, I don't know if people caught it in Mike's little intro, you have a 24-year-old in Song Yadong. It is crazy that this dude is 24 years old and he's already in a fight against a top 5 guy in the world at this age. There are going to be a lot of years left for Song Yadong, assuming no injury or damage or anything like that. But it's an interesting matchup. You have, now I don't know which way to say it. He used to be Song Yadong. Now they're calling him Yadong Song. We talked about this earlier if you didn't watch the whole episode. But I'll just say Song. Song is an explosive-ass dude. And he's good everywhere. And he packs legitimate fight-ending power. And Cory, as we know, is an impossible puzzle to solve in there. He's so slick. He fights so smart. He uses every single weapon he has. He can change his strategy on the fly. He's super dangerous himself. He can finish you in a bunch of different ways, knockout, submission, everything. And he's such an analytical fighter. He dictates range so well. He can frustrate you. And I think he can take the big shot or two that I'm sure Song will land at some point in this fight. So I'm a bit torn on it, but I'm thinking about 2 fights that Song has had, one being Cheeto, the other being Kyler Phillips. And both of those guys are guys who are kind of movement heavy and have a lot of varied weapons. And yes, Song won the fight with Cheeto, but it was very controversial. He lost the fight to Kyler Phillips. But in each fight, he did not have an easy time with those guys. And that kind of has me landing with Sandhagen. I think it could go similarly where just the movement, the varied strikes, the toughness of Sandhagen, his ability to eat some of the shots that I'm sure will land, his ability to switch it up if need be. I think it's going to be enough to frustrate Song and not let him win enough rounds here. Plus, it's so hard to let go of Sandhagen. Like, he's been so damn good and so damn close. So I'm going to go with him here. I think maybe this one looks like it's Song early, but that it shifts to Cory as the fight goes on. As Cory gets his reads down a bit, Plus, I don't feel terribly confident in Song as we go into round 4 and 5 cardio-wise. He's just so explosive, and he's used to getting guys out of there, and I think that he won't here, and I'm curious to see how he looks as the fight goes on. I love Cory's mindset. I love that he doesn't seem like he's been shaken at all by the losses. He still appears to be fully confident that he's going to be the champion. He's been saying it, so I like to see that. And yeah, I can't. It's a close fight. I just can't not take Cory. I'm going to go Cory by UD.
Yeah. Cory UD. I'm writing this down.
On the backs of the later rounds.
On backs of later.
Oh, I didn't mean you had to write it. I was just saying it.
Yeah, this is a tough fight to pick, man. Really tough fight to pick. Cory looked good against TJ. Cory did not look great against Petr Yan because of the greatness of Petr Yan, mostly, I think.
Petr Yan has just looked fucking amazing against Cory Sandhagen.
Yeah, especially that night. Yan was just on another level. Cory just couldn't hurt him, couldn't do anything of meaning in that fight. But yeah, I think Cory has to get back in the win column, and I think he will. I think, yes, he can be. This is the tricky part right here. I do think that he will weather a storm from Song Yadong, and he will eat a big shot or two. He has shown us that he has a good chin, Cory Sandhagen.
Yep.
He can eat a shot. He's never been knocked out, by the way, looking at their records. Cory Sandhagen has never been finished by TKO or knockout. Song Yadong is a guy that could do that can give him that first one. I don't think he will because Cory has shown us fight after fight that dude can eat a shot. And yeah, I agree with Mark. I think he's going to overwhelm Song as the fight goes on, and we're going to see Cory win by, I'm going to say, unanimous decision overall. It's going to be a good fight though. So I'm writing my own pick down. Boom.
It's a really good matchup. It's a super good matchup.
It's a great matchup. Great matchup at 135 pounds. And that does it, boys, for this week's preview of this weekend's fight card, UFC Fight Night at Sandhagen versus Song. And here we go. Let's go right into it. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's go right into trivia. Here we go. Because it's getting late for the daddies on this show. Okay, this past weekend, Nate Diaz won his fight by submission over Tony Ferguson. The UFC used to have an event award category called Submission of the Night. You might remember. Well, the UFC eliminated that category along with Knockout of the Night back in early 2014 and replaced them both with the single category of Performance of the Night bonuses. Nathan Diaz ranks second all-time with 5 Submission of the Night awards. Who has the most Submission of the Night awards, ranking first ahead of Nathan Diaz? Is it A, Damian Maia, B, Jim Miller, C, Charles Dubronx Oliveira, or D, Joe Lozon?
Literally, you asked the question, and A, B, and C were the 3 that came into my brain before I even heard the letters.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, I was hoping you'd narrow it down for me, and you didn't.
I should have thrown, like, Brock Lesnar in there.
See, I don't know if Charles was too late in the game. I can't remember when they changed it to Performance of the Night.
2014.
Yeah, fucking boatload of subs. Oh, 2014?
Yeah, Mike said it.
Is that what Mike said? Oh, I didn't
That's when
hear
they changed it. Yeah, they changed it.
Oh, all right, so that helps. So 2014, so that was a while back. So it can't be
Was that
Charles.
8 years?
Can't be Charles. I mean, he had some, but
It's either Charles or Jim Miller. That's kind of where I'm at this point.
couldn't it be Maya? It's not. I don't think it's Lozon. I feel like it could be Maya.
I almost did it the Performance of the Night category. Made a question off that because Nate Diaz also is ranked pretty high in that as well. but then I saw this. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I
Discontinued
feel like
category.
Maya didn't get a ton of bonuses, I don't feel.
I'm going to go with Jim Miller simply because I know he leads the UFC in bonuses. So the odds are in my favor.
Yeah. Same.
Mr.
Like I said, I was between Jim Miller and whoever the fuck C was now. I don't even remember. But Jim Miller is where I'm standing.
So Jim
Charles,
Miller
that's right.
and Jim Miller and Charles Oliveira are tied with 3 submission
oh,
of the night
shit.
bonuses.
Wait, is it going
Is
to be
it fucking Maya?
Nate Diaz
Lozon?
has 5, and Joe Lozon got 6
Wow.
sub of the night
Damn.
bonuses. My man Joe Lozon.
Go ahead, Lozon.
And what's cool about that is that Joe Lozon will forever and always have the accolade of the most sub of the night bonuses from the UFC.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? As you're saying this, it's funny. I can remember an interview. Remember over the pandemic when I was watching all the old fights and shit? I can remember an interview now. I think it's with Rogan, where he says to Joe, like, another sub of the night, like, you get him every time. And he's like, yeah, like, I'm going to keep getting him. I can see the interview now that you just kind of put this in my head.
That dude must have won so much money just off of those bonuses, just continuously.
Yeah, probably like $300K, something like that.
Yeah.
If
That's
it was
exactly
50
what
grand
it
each
would've been.
time. Well, boys, we've done it again.
Boom.
Good show. Number 60, by the way. This was show number 60.
Yeah.
Lego.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the fights this weekend, everybody. A lot of fun ones. Song versus Sandhagen. Hobocop versus Chidi Bang Bang. Algeo Fili. Got some fun ones, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Fight of the Night.
early
I think
start.
Fight of the Night is going to be the main event.
So do I. Yeah, my fight of the night's main event. I didn't realize it's an early start. The main card, it's a 6-fight main card, but the main card starts at 7 o'clock.
I love that.
Meaning what? There's 14 fights in this fucking card. What time's the first fight at? 3?
3.
Probably.
Where's, why doesn't it say? Where is this shit? 4. The first fight's at 4? Wait. So they're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got 8 fights going on in 3 hours? Damn, they're pushing it a little bit with that.
Yeah, man. Gentlemen, any other parting shots for our viewers and listeners?
Let's go, Giants.
All right, boys. Well, that being said, folks, enjoy the fights this weekend, and we will see you next week.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.